So recently, I had a viewer recommend a challenge to me where I beat Dark Souls 3 as Wolverine using the claw weapon and the Sun Princess ring for his healing regeneration ability, and I regretfully accepted the challenge. So today, I asked the question, can you beat Dark Souls 3 as Wolverine? For all my smarty pantses out there, no. Since it's not possible to start with the claws or the ring, but that's where modding comes in. With that said, let's get to the rules for this run. Rule number 1, claws only. They are 3 claw type weapons, but I will only be using the one that has 3 blades since Wolverine only has 3. The second rule is no armor, because we all know it's more fun to look at Hugh Jackman shirtless. The third rule is no Estus. I must rely on the healing factor that Wolverine has. So I'll be modding the Sun Princess ring to give myself that ability, and if you think 2 HP per second is better than Estus, you are horribly, horribly wrong. Oh, how I wish I had Estus for this run. Rule number 4, luck only, because the run wasn't hard enough, apparently. Number 5, buffs are allowed. Wolverine in the comics was able to heat his claws at one point, plus there are multiple other variations of him using different claw abilities. Also, I think he is smart enough to rub some paper on his claws. He is a guy after all, he knows how to rub one out. Number 6, no summons. And lastly, beat every boss in the game. With all that jargon done with, let's get this weird Marvel spinoff started. Starting off, I picked the Mercenary class since it has 16 dex, which I will need 14 to use the claws. I then customized my character to be as jacked and hairy as possible. Once done jacking, I name him Logan after Wolverine's actual name, and with that, let's talk about the claws. The claws are a dex weapon that focuses on slashing and thrusting damage. The basic R1 combo is just some good old slapping to backhand slaps, and R2 just does a hard slap. When two-handing the claws, the L1 does consecutive hits with both hands, which is useful for stun-locking humanoid enemies, but at the cost of longer animation time. Its L2 does a leaping slash attack just like Wolverine, and its roll attack is just a poke. Surprisingly, it has a decent poise break, it can inflict bleed, and has 110 for critical damage instead of the normal 100. But that's enough weapon talk. Time to get on with the story. Once waking up from being experimented on by the professor and Dr. Cornelius, I start rampaging through the ruins, killing anyone in my sights to the point of taking on someone twice my size. Gundyr wasn't a tough fight. With him being susceptible to bleed and the claws being extremely quick, it wasn't too difficult to get the bleed proc. It was also this fight where I found the claws were pretty decent at poise breaking. I was able to do it twice to him, which helped me no-hit Gundyr. I know it's an easy fight, but I was proud of the no-hit. With Gundyr being slapped and bled to death, I run through Firelink Shrine to pick up the covetous Silver Serpent Ring and level my luck up to 13. A quick side note, luck increases bleed buildup. It is the main reason I decided to do luck only within this run. With that said, I headed out to High Wall of Lothric. Once at High Wall of Trump, I collected the Gold Pine resin area and scared the shit out of myself when trying to hide from the knight. Seriously, just seeing the eyeballs inside the head completely caught me off guard. I then collected all the Titanite shards in the area so that I could take on Bora of the Boreal Valley. I was sad to find out that Vort is immune to bleed. Good thing for Lightning Claws because they made up for that. I played around a bit with Vort, slapping him around and leap slashing his gonads. He wasn't too happy about that and smacked me real good near the end. But, unbeknownst to him, I had 13 luck on my side. I wanted to jump on that behind for the kill, but ended up slapping it instead. Still a win in my book. I headed back to Firelink Shrine to level my luck up to 16 and finally upgrade my claws to +1. Remember, I'm leveling luck, not intelligence. I then hitch a ride from some old friends from DS1. Collect some goodies in the Undead Settlement, use that 10 intelligence to upgrade my claws to +2, and meet a lovely fellow that is offering me alcohol if I help him kill a demon, and we all know Wolverine wouldn't pass up free alcohol. So, me and my new onion friend kill said demon and have a good drink afterwards. Nothing like a cold brewski after a good killing. Always makes it taste better. Once done drinking, I practiced my horrible speedrunning skills of using Alluring Skull to get past the enemies in this area to get Flynn's ring and the Chloranthy ring. Alright, game plan time. So my idea from this point is to make my weapon a hollow weapon by infusing it with a hollow gem. The reason for this is that when a weapon becomes hollow, it scales with luck. And with this being an only luck run, it will be the only way I can increase my damage. The caveat to this is that I needed the Profane Coal, which is all the way in the Ethereal Dungeon, which means I need to get through multiple bosses before I can infuse my weapon. So I got some boss killing to do. Another quick side note, I have been told about the dogs teleporting to you from behind, but I never really believed it. Well, I can't say that anymore. Miyazaki having to cheat to kill the players now, I see. After discovering that Miyazaki is a dirty cheater, I picked a fight with a sad excuse of a caveman and showed him why no armor is the way to go. From there, I picked up the Dream Chaser's ashes, collected the large Titanite shards in the area, and joined the Watchdogs of Fair Covenant. Closest thing to a Wolverine Covenant in this game I'm going to get. I then head back to Firelink to level myself up to 20 and trade in the ashes to buy Titanite shards to then upgrade my claws to +4. With that done, I can take on the first obstacle, the Abyss Watchers, aka the Deadpool Core. Fun fact, Deadpool got so annoyed with Kidpool that he shot him in the head. Nick Fury and Wolverine gave no fucks when this happened, and they simply stated, "Works for me." Remember kids, there are consequences for being annoying. The Abyss Watchers was another fight that wasn't too hard to deal with. For the first phase, I just baited out the dash attack for easy backstabs. Unfortunately, Kidpool ended up coming back to life and smacked the shit out of me. So I ran around slowly watching my health go up. Luckily, Ladypool woke up and started helping me out because she wanted a piece of that hairy ass. Thankfully, she was able to lower the main Deadpool enough for me to send him to the second phase. Phase 2 was really straightforward. Wait for his 3-swing combo to punish the jump and bait out his dash attack again for another easy backstab. With just that, I was able to take down the Deadpool Core. With the first obstacle taken care of, I leveled to 29 and beeline it straight for Walnir. I spam L1 to break Walnir's cuffs to then get saved by the Magic Pixel. That 30 luck is working overtime because right after it, I only took 2 hits to break the last cuff. I then pop that big boy's soul and level my luck to 35. Once done leveling, I fight a giant mutated croc dog for Pontus' right eye, which I was able to do on my first try, redeeming myself a bit from the last run. Then I ran into a wall. I definitely didn't forget that you needed to beat the Deacons of the Deep first. I was just testing to make sure the invisible wall was working properly, and it was. While in the area, I collected large Titanite shards in Smoldering Lake and picked up the Grave Warden ashes so that I could buy Carthus Rouge from the Handmaid. After all that gathering, I upgrade my claws to +6 and infuse it with a sharp gem for a bit more damage. With all that done, it's time to take on the Scarlet Witch. Did not expect the Crystal Sage to be the first boss I died to on this run. Oh well. Oh, you got to be fucking with me. Okay, now that's what I'm talking about. The Crystal Sage is weak to bleed, so with the claws and Carthus Rouge, it just melted her health bar into oblivion. Also, the claws with the bleed buff look super cool. I never used Carthus Rouge before, and I'm really digging the visual effect. Aesthetics aside, I beeline it once again to the Deacons of the Deep, but along the way, I picked up the Lloyd Sword Ring. Apparently, 39 luck was not enough to proc the Magic Pixel. On the second round, I got smart this time and killed all the fat bastards to make getting the kill a bit easier. With now having the small doll, I can pass through the invisible wall and make my way through the dungeons to get the Profane Coal. Since I was in the area, I also nabbed me a Titanite chunk. Before heading back to Firelink Shrine, I pick up a hollow gem outside of Farron Keep. With having the Profane Coal and the hollow gem, I uninfuse my claws and upgrade it to +7. It's actually cheaper to upgrade a weapon before it's infused. Once upgraded, I infuse the claws with the hollow gem. With hollow weapons, when you are at hollow level 15, you get 5 points into luck, so I went to talk to Yol of Londor, but come to find out he dies if you don't talk to him before the Abyss fight. I really need to stop this habit of letting my NPCs die that I really need. So, with that disappointment of a find, I decided to be ballsy and take on Mortis of the Boreal Valley. You might be wondering, Mortis? She doesn't use a sword or fire. Well, she has the ability to drain the life of others, and Dancer did a mighty fine job of that to me. Plus, she tried to kill Wolverine this way, but failed because of his OP regeneration powers, so I thought it was a very fitting name to go with. I honestly thought this was going to be an easy fight because I figured I knew her fight really well, but apparently that was not the case. I ended up dying 37 times. Now, this wasn't fully due to me not knowing the second phase as well as I thought. The main issue was the damn claw's attacks would miss even though I would be right on top of her. Coupling this with only being able to get hit once led to me dying quite frequently. Sadly, the 2 HP regain did not help out that much in this fight. The winning ticket was using my last gold pine resin. For the first phase, I used Carthus Rouge to lower Dancer's health as low as possible, and once it ran out, I used the gold pine resin to finish the job in 3 hits. You might be thinking that was overkill, but the attempt before this one shows why I really needed it. After dealing with the first roadblock of the run, I pick up 3 chunks in the Consume King's Garden and the Claws. I then proceed to pick up a Blessed Gem at the Cathedral and the Sage Coal at Farron Keep. With this, I can now make the Claws a blessed weapon that I can equip to my left hand to help with self-healing. Once at plus 10, I will then have 4 HP per second of healing. In all honesty, it's still not that great. Before leaving, I level my luck up to 48. I then head to Lautric's Castle to pick up some more Titanite chunks to be able to upgrade my Hollow Claws to plus 9. And while I was at it, I upgraded my Blessed Claws to plus 3. With that prep work done with, I figured it was time to visit the old Demon King. Sadly, on the first go-around, he obliterated me from existence. Not going to lie, it was a bit comical watching it back. Unfortunately, the Demon King cannot be bled, but funny enough, the Demon Princess can. I wonder what the logic was behind that one. Either way, I just made the old man loop 2 of his moves to the point of breaking him, leading to an easy no-hit victory. With the old man dead, I level my luck up to 52 to take on Osiris. So, the reason I am taking on Osiris now is so that I can get past Champion Gundyr to get a Titanite slab to finish upgrading my Hollow Claws. But, as you can see, the first round did not go as planned. For the second round, I had a bit of a rough start with his damn missed attack. I was able to keep my composure to be able to DPS him past half health. A big thanks to Bleed for that one. I actually found his second phase extremely easy. He just does a charge attack into a spin attack. So I just had to keep getting behind him and following him around for some easy hits. I did have some trouble with the claws whiffing, but I didn't let it stop me from second trying him. Just ignore the low health. I pop Osiris' soul and level up to 55, and with that, it's time for Champion Gundyr. So apparently Champion Gundyr heard my statement from my last video where I thought about purposely dying so that I could fight him again and again, and he decided this time to take matters into his own hands. The big boy killed me 77 times, just missing one more 7 there to win the lottery. I got close to beating Gundyr so many times. The worst was when my lightning buff ran out as I was doing the last hit. If I would have been a second quicker, I would have won right here. But the evil that is RNG would not allow it. It was around my 50th death that I finally decided to go get Xanthus' ashes to use gold pine resin. Now, Champion Gundyr can be bled, but it just wasn't proccing as much as I would like, and the damage increase from the gold pine resin gave me more consistency of getting his health low, which eventually led to my victory. Nothing special here, just some good old beating your head against the wall until you win. With Champion Gundyr defeated, I get the Coiled Sword, which I can trade for a Titanite slab to upgrade my Hollow Claws to plus 10. With my weapons at plus 10, I level my luck up to 60 to take on Pontiff. I did not know this at the time, but if you put the claws in your left hand, you can parry with them. As you can tell by the sound of my voice, this fight did not go so well. In my defense, I thought the weapons needed the weapon art parry to do it, so I never tested it out. This fight was brutal. I ended up dying 37 times. It's not 77 times, but it's still rough. I really struggled with his first phase where he could just backhand you if you weren't centered enough behind his back. Also, something I forgot to mention in the Gundyr fight is the recovery time of the claws. Surprisingly, the claws do not have a quick recovery time like daggers, katanas, or even Valhart. I would think I would be able to dodge quickly after a swing to just get punished right afterwards, and this greatly impacted a lot of boss fights, which led me to the conclusion that claws are not that great for PvE and are more suited for PvP. With how good this weapon is at stunning, I think they gave it this downside of a slower recovery time so it would be more balanced for PvP, but this is just me speculating. So the trick here was doing the same tactic I used on Dancer, where I used Carthus Rouge to lower his health down to his second phase, and whip out Cold Pine Bundle to help DPS him and his clone down quickly. After that unnecessary challenge, I helped Cirrus to acquire the Silver Cat Ring to do a speedrunner skip to bypass the majority of the dungeon to access the Profane Capital. Instead of taking on Yorm, I needed an easy win, so I went to Archdragon Peak and killed the big old bird. Used his lovely souls to get my luck up to 64, which did not prevent me from getting an arrow through the chest. I then unlocked Andor Rondo and proceeded to get Eastern Ashes and Dragon Chaser Ashes to be able to upgrade my Blessed Claws to +9. With that done, I was ready for Aldrich. Aldrich wasn't too bad. He of course can be bled, which helps a lot, but my main focus was staying in front of his face to bait out his spear attacks to get easy hits in. As easy as this sounds, it didn't stop me from dying 8 times. Sometimes luck was not on my side. Just had to rely on good old skill to get the job done. Oh boy, now it's time for one of Wolverine's toughest enemies, the Hulk, aka Yorm the Giant. This is going to sound weird, but Yorm wasn't crazy difficult even with him being immune to bleed. Due to watching Gino's old speedrun videos of Dark Souls 3, I learned that you could bait out Yorm's slam attack by standing in front of him, which ends up leaving his hands wide open. You can even hit them enough to break him to be able to get a crit off. Now, I did have a very scary moment early on, but thanks to the health regeneration, I was able to recover from it. So, with a little bit of running back and forth between his legs for 13 minutes and 32 seconds, I was able to bring the big guy down. With the Hulk defeated, I level up to 67 to take on the next boss, Dragon Slayer Armor. So, if you're paying attention really closely, you can see my first mistake I made. I, for some reason, thought lightning would be a good element to use on a boss who is using lightning themselves. Well, Souls of Cinder is weak to lightning, and he can use lightning, but that's not the case with Dragon Slayer. I will say though, I did almost beat him with using Gold Pine Resin. So that's something, at least to me anyways. I, of course, switched to Charcoal Resin, which Dragon Slayer is actually weak to. Only took me 20 attempts to finally do this. The biggest thing I struggled with was how hard he could hit. I could easily die in 1 to 2 hits, so it didn't leave me much room for messing up. Also, he's immune to bleed, so that sucked. My strategy eventually became strafing to the right to bait out his shield attacks, since I found those to be the easiest to dodge and get hits in. Anytime I would hear those damn butterflies making a noise, I beelined it for the other side of the arena. Once he was past half health, I just made sure to stay close to him to take advantage of his slam attack, and to make it easier to dodge his charge attack. From here, it was all about luck. With how fast Dragon Slayer can combo into attacks and the butterflies being the butterflies, I just had to hope for the right setup to finally kill him. And on my 35th attempt, I finally got that opportunity. Super fun fight, but I still hate the butterflies. After that lovely fight, I decided to be nice to myself and level up to 75. I then proceeded to break into the Grand Archives, to pull a lever, to steal a Tynite Slab, to then finish upgrading my Blessed Claws to +10. That 4 HP per second is going to make the rest of this run a piece of cake. With that said, next up on the list to fight is the Twin Princes. So I figured with my past 2 runs that I had this boss figured out, but once again I was proven wrong. As usual, I had no issues with the elder brother. My problems occurred when both brothers were out and about. I still struggle with the teleporting and magic missile attacks. Especially with having low health, I had a tendency to just try and spam roll to survive, which did not work out too well. Even when I would make it past the start of the first phase, my bloodborne brain would kick in to start overpressuring, which cost me a few opportunities to win. Lucky for me, the brothers can be bled, so it made things a bit easier. With the help of some Carthus Rouge, I was finally able to take down the elder brother, and shortly after that, the younger brother met the same fate. Only took 31 attempts, but I was finally able to make them bleed to death. With the twin princes drained of all their blood, I make my way to Ariandel and meet a pretty lady. So, by chance, are you single?
I'm a nun?
Oh, you can call me father then. Well, after being rightfully rejected, I decided to take my frustration out on Champion Gravetender. Surprisingly, this fight wasn't as bad as I was expecting it to be. I knew from the start I would use fire for the wolves and switch to poison for Gravetender and the Great Wolf, which worked as expected, but as usual I didn't take into account my ability to drop the ball multiple times. I just have a knack for doing this for some weird reason. Lucky for me, on my 21st attempt, the RNG gods blessed me with a poise break, and with fresh blood in the water, I went straight into a frenzy to kill this piece of shit of a boss. If you can't tell, I'm not the biggest fan of this fight. While walking around Ariandel, I came across these weird bird things, and a question popped into my head. Are those umbilical cords or dicks? Because they're 100% coming from the crotch area. Knowing Miyazaki, probably dicks. After staring way too long at some humanoid bird crotch, I ran into Sir Valhelm, who I could effectively use Leaping Slash on, and was able to kill him with it. 10 points for style. Once done with Valhelm, it was time to take on Sister Fetish. I think y'all already know why I went with this villain name. Sister Frida said I had been a naughty boy and I needed a spanking. Sadly, it was not the good type of spanking. I'll just get this out of the way. She killed me 167 times. Probably should have let her kill me 2 more times, but that's beside the point. This fight drove me nuts. It wasn't the fact that I had to go through 2 phases to just die in 2 seconds. No, wait, that is exactly the reason that it drove me nuts. Just hours of attempts to make it to the 3rd phase over and over again to just die. This frustration would lead to me dying in phase 1 and 2, and I really disliked phase 2. I can honestly say this was not the best way to learn her fights, but I fucking did it. So, for phase 1, I could not get hit at all, which led to me playing it pretty safe, mainly waiting for backstabs, but occasionally taking advantage of her 2-swing combo, and that took care of phase 1. For phase 2, I would always pop a green blossom to help with stamina recovery. I would start off with Rotten Pine Resin to poison Father Ariandel to help do damage while I was running away, while luring Father away from Sister Frida. After he was poisoned, I would switch to Carthus Rouge to speed up the bleed proc on him. For phase 2, I was okay with taking damage since this phase took the longest with all the running away. Usually by the time I killed Father, my health was fully healed. With just that, I took my sweet time poking away until Father Ariandel went down. Now, for the damn 3rd phase. I really enjoy this phase, but my god did it try its hardest for me to hate it. The biggest secret to this fight was backstabs, and strictly doing backstabs. I pretty much found every way to backstab her, so let's go over them. Starting off, you can backstab her after her Black Fire Tornado attack. You just need to roll as the attack lands and run right behind her. When she does her basic jump attack, just roll twice to safely get the backstab off. When she does her fancy jump attack, just roll underneath her to pull it off. Anytime she turns invisible, follow her while dodging her ice attacks, and after the 2nd attack, she will always do a charge attack, which you can easily get behind her for a backstab. And lastly, when she does her dash attack, you can roll backwards or forwards to get behind her. Now, I will say this one was the trickiest to get off, so in my winning attempt, I refrained from doing it. This fight just took a little bit of luck, a fuck ton of time, and more importantly, patience to beat Sister Frida. With Frida dead, I level my luck up to 84 and do some free falling to the point of falling in front of the Demon Prince. Now, this was a fight I was not expecting to give me trouble. On my last run, I didn't have much issues figuring them out, but for some reason this time, I struggled with the 1st phase. It ended up taking 32 attempts to make it to the 2nd phase, where things were going really well until this happened. I would be lying if I said I stayed calm during this. The entire time, my heart was pounding like crazy and my hands wouldn't stop shaking. But the RNG gods must have felt bad about the Sister Frida fights because not long after this, he did his beam attack, which allowed me to kill him. I swear, I won't die from old age, but a damn heart attack from doing these runs. After aging myself by 10 years, I made the senile decision to take on the Nameless King, whose actual name is Victor Von Doom. And just like in the comics, he had no issues taking my head off. Weirdly, I struggled with the chicken this go around. Well, I say chicken, but it was actually Nameless smacking me around. But I did eventually get back into the groove of things. Sadly, I could not say the same for the second phase. This is where I was reminded of how easily I could die. It was around my 50th attempt that I made some good progress with dodging all of his attacks. So I figured why not try out some tips from the comics where you can dodge his lightning bolt by looking away. Come to find out, you have to make sure the Nameless King is completely out of view when doing this to make it work. At least it only took me 12 more deaths to finally win, so it wasn't too bad. You know things have gotten bad when I think 62 deaths is an okay death ratio. With the king dead, I pop his soul, level my luck up to 88, and then use said luck to somehow not fall to my death. Don't worry, Midir made sure to take care of that. Seriously, whose idea was it to have us fight Midir on this damn cliffside so that we could actually fight him later on? It took me a solid 3 minutes to get the poise break, but with that done, it's time for motherfucking Midir, the final boss in this run that is immune to bleed, which to me makes no sense because when I stabbed his damn face a second ago, there was a lot of blood that came out of it. I have only had one encounter before with Midir, and that was on my last run, and I knew coming into this I was going to have a rough time with not knowing his moveset so well. I had to do a lot of trial and error to figure him out, but it paid off in the end. What I found is that I could bait out a few moves that were easily punishable by just hanging out by his face. The first is his double bite attack into his flamethrower, which I could roll through to then smack him. The second was his 6-swing combo, which I just rolled away from until he slammed his head down. The third would be his beam attack that would leave him open for about 2 hits. Fourth would be his roar into a bite attack, and lastly is his normal flamethrower attack. The really funny thing about this is that he will keep doing this even into his second phase, so I didn't have to change anything. The only difference here was avoiding the projectiles and him doing his hyper beam attack. The real sad part was on my 82nd attempt, I let greed get the better of me and went for 2 hits thinking it would kill, but it did not. The worst part is, if I would have just used the Gold Pine bundle, I would have killed him. Fortunately for me, it would only take 14 more tries to finally slay the dragon. I am still salty about him being immune to bleed though. For God's sake, look at all that blood that comes out. How is he immune to bleed? Bitterness aside, time for some more bitterness. Because Half-Light, or should I say, Painting Guardians, can go to hell. Honestly, this fight would be 100% more reasonable without the Guardians. The only saving grace to this fight was that I could bleed Half-Light, so once I finally got a one-on-one with him on my 20th attempt, I was able to beat him easily. I am still confused as to who thought this was a good fight idea. Shitty game design aside, it's time for one of the better boss designs in the game, Slave Knight Gale. Slave Knight Gale was an interesting fight. For phase 1, I went with Rotten Pine to help with lowering his HP faster, and once poisoned, I would switch to Carthus Rouge to speed up the blood proc. For phase 2, I would reapply Carthus Rouge to keep the blood build up going. After the Rouge would run out, I would just stick with the Gold Pine bundle since it was faster to apply and helped deal more damage. Alas, the second phase is where I had most of my troubles. I would try and stay too close to Gale to just end up getting hit by his cape, which then led to me baiting out his jump attack to get an easy 3 hits in. Once lowered enough to his third phase, I could no longer use this opening since he now shoots projectiles after the jump. So I adapted and started punishing his dash attack and taking advantage of his 3-swing combo to get some hits in. The good thing about this fight is if I got hit in the second or third phase, I could run for dear life until my HP was at full again. From the second phase into the third phase, it only took 16 minutes for me to fuck all of that up. Only took me dying 57 times to finally pull this off. I would like to say I'm happy, but that's ruined by the fact that I have to fight Cinder next. Before taking on the Soulless Cinder, my luck was at 92, so I figured why not cap it off before the final fight. After leveling, I offer up the other Lord of Cinder souls to finish this hellish run once and for all. This is my third run of Dark Souls 3, and I'm still not a fan of the Lord of Cinder, and I do not know if I ever will be. As usual, I struggle more with the first phase than his second phase. I would just pray during the first phase to get the spear or magic form, since those were the only two I was consistent in being able to beat. For his second phase, it took a bit of testing, but I found the Lord of Cinder was like Gale and I could just punish his jump attack. I just needed to be careful because depending on the jump animation, he could have a follow-up attack. It took a lot of patience and restraint for me to win this one because I really wanted to speed this fight up. Right near the end of my 66th attempt, I got hit. Both Cinder and I were one hit away from dying. But, lucky for me, I had 99 luck on my side to get the final poke from behind to end my internal suffering. Oh, finally, I can end this damn run. Wait a minute. Oh, fuck! Curse Rotted Greatwood! Woo! That was a close one. You know, you would think I would learn my lesson of doing easier runs and working my way up to these harder ones, but apparently 10 intelligence will not allow that type of logical decision making. With that said, I would like to thank my channel supporters. If you too would like to support the channel or have your name in the video, you can click the Patreon link in the description or click the YouTube join button. I also from time to time stream my runs, so you can catch me streaming on YouTube or over on Twitch at Arcane Gaming. I want to thank all of you for watching, and until next time, take care.